And
now I have to testify. Big part of his too, so yeah, because I'm a DoorDash driver, so yeah.
you have to testify in which murder case?
Murder case for college girls.
Did we just find out about a major witness planning to testify in Bryan Kohberger's upcoming murder trial? Through body cam footage from an unrelated DUI stop 2 years after the killings of those 4 college students, people online and reporting indicates this woman, a potential delivery driver, may have seen Bryan Kohberger at the crime scene. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Just after 4 a.m. on November 13th, 2022, a quiet off-campus house near the University of Idaho would become the scene of a gruesome crime that would be talked about and covered across the world. 4 students, Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernodle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Gonsalves, were brutally stabbed to death in their beds. The attack just sent shockwaves throughout the small town of Moscow, Idaho, and it quickly became a national and worldwide obsession. Police quickly zeroed in on who could have done this, and within weeks, they got a suspect. They got an arrest. Bryan Kohberger, a now 30-year-old PhD criminology student at nearby Washington State University. And with attorneys now preparing to head to trial, it's just around the corner in August, a supposed mountain of damning evidence lies in front of them. You have a K-bar knife sheath with Kohberger's DNA apparently on it, cell phone pings placing him near the scene, surveillance footage of a white Hyundai Elantra matching his car. Also, there's been a report of a surviving roommate who might have positively ID'd him in the house. But now, there is one question that remains. One that could potentially turn this case completely on its heels. And that is, was there another witness? One who could place Kohberger at the very scene on the night of the murders. Why do I say this? We got to talk about this new development. It is wild. So it is being reported that the prosecution may have an ace up their sleeve, an eyewitness who may potentially testify that Bryan Kohberger was at the crime scene the night of the murders. I'm not talking about the surviving roommate. I'm talking about somebody else. And I want you to stay with me because it's a bit strange here. Now, the prosecution at this point, and we kind of raced on air to do this, we haven't seen anything to suggest the prosecution has confirmed this. However, what are we talking about? There is an unidentified woman, reportedly 43, 44 years old, that according to News Nation, she's only referred to as MM in court documents, who claims she was the DoorDash driver that dropped off food for Xana at the home at 1122 King Road that night in Moscow, Idaho. It was reported that she had received a food delivery about 10 minutes before the killing, so right after 4 a.m. Now, why is this coming out? Well, it turns out there is a police body cam video that has been posted to the YouTube account Officer Axon. They apparently publish police videos through public records requests. And this is reportedly from September 2024, so you're talking about 2 years later, out in Pullman, Washington. Again, Kohberger was a PhD student studying criminology at Washington State University in Pullman. And this interaction with police centers around an alleged DUI stop. So it's not related to the killings. However, the woman in this video says in an interview room, as she's covered by a blanket, the following.
And
now I have to testify. Big part of his too, so yeah, because I'm a DoorDash driver, so yeah.
you have to testify in which murder case?
Murder case for college girls.
Oh.
I'm a DoorDash driver, I saw Bryan there.
Now, in case you couldn't hear what she says, she apparently says, I have to testify in a big murder case here because I'm the DoorDash driver, so yeah. And the officer asks, which case? She responds, the murder case with the college girls. I'm the DoorDash driver. I saw Bryan there. I parked right next to him. Wow. I know. So people online, they were quick to make the purported connection here, right? The question, of course, is this true? Is she credible? If she testifies, what does this mean? What did she see? Hey everybody, this is a Law&Crime legal alert. Did you know that children are being diagnosed with serious conditions like type 2 diabetes and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and the research is potentially linking ultra-processed foods to all this? Yeah, well, Morgan & Morgan, they're stepping in to fight to hold these food companies accountable. With decades of experience fighting large corporations, they are ready to stand up for the families who deserve justice. So if your child under 21 has been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes or fatty liver disease, then visit www.forthepeople.com/food or scan the QR code on screen to learn more. Let me bring on right now Matthew Mangino, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor. Matt, this is a weird way to find out about a potential witness because, again, as we were rushing to come online and broadcast this, we couldn't find anything in court documents to suggest, hey, a DoorDash driver is going to be called, or prosecutors confirming, yes, this is the witness we're planning to call. This is a weird way to find out about a potential witness.
Well, Jesse, it certainly is. And, I've spent 37 years practicing criminal law, 8 years as a prosecutor. People who are pulled over for DUI, it's not unusual to say strange things and bizarre things. So, maybe this is just someone, trying to impress the police officer when they got pulled over. Or maybe, in fact, this person is a potential witness in this case. If she is a potential witness and she testifies to what she observed, it's certainly a bombshell in this case. And it puts Bryan Kohberger right at the murder scene when this happened.
Obviously, you're right. I mean, you're obviously right. She could be making this up. It's obviously a massive case in that area. Maybe it was a way, I don't know, to get out of trouble. Sure, 100%. I totally hear you. Having said that, let's assume for the moment she is an actual witness in this case for the prosecution. First question I have is credibility. If she testifies, could this video be used against her?
Well, that's an interesting question because, normally when you're going to impeach a witness, that witness has to have something in their background that would indicate some propensity for falsehood, crimen falsi. Did, in fact, they perjure themselves in the past? Did they forge bad checks? Did they steal or take from others? So that idea that she had a DUI is not really necessarily an impeachable offense. And certainly if she says on the witness stand exactly what she said when she was pulled over by the police, then again, she's not contradicting herself. So, the idea that she could be impeached by this may be a long shot.
Well, again, so if she had, these are an alleged DUI stop, you're seeing her behavior, right? So she could be telling the truth, but you also see her behavior. And arguably, there is evidence of intoxication, something going on there. That can't be used to, say, hey, what exactly did you witness? Do you have the most reliable account? Are you the most reliable narrator? So if she does have an alleged substance abuse problem, and if she is a potential witness, that can't be used?
Well, you could explore that idea of a substance abuse problem, but what I would do is I would say, hey, you're a DoorDash delivery person. You drive a vehicle to make those deliveries. And, have you ever driven under the influence? Well, see what her response is. Were you driving under the influence that day? Well, I would never drive under the influence when I'm working. Well, then you might be able to get to that point. But the question again, Jesse, is if she testifies consistently with what she said when she was in the vehicle that night, is that video helpful or is it unhelpful? I mean, she's saying the same exact thing.
Yeah, no, that's true. And it makes me wonder, let's say she does testify, okay? Let's say she is a key witness in this case. What did she see? What did she see? I mean, that idea of being at the house, for her to say the DoorDash, when we believe there was evidence of a delivery, so this is somebody who knew about the case, right? either she's making it up or if she's telling the truth, she is that driver. What did she see about, she saw Kohberger?
Yeah, I mean that is huge in terms of testimony in this case, and IDing him at the crime scene. The other issue that I would want to explore if I was the defense in this case is, let's say, for instance, she is the DoorDash driver, but let's say she never disclosed that to the police until she was pulled over for a DUI. Why? And those are the kind of things that I would want to explore with this witness in the background. Why wasn't this immediately reported to the police? Why don't we know about it until we see this video online of her boasting about it to police officers?
Yeah, and that's interesting. And that's interesting because that could jeopardize her testimony in a certain way. But if she says, hey, I was there, and she says she saw him, and the jury believes that, is that the end of the case? Could she be the most important witness in this whole thing? Because right now, what did I say? They're planning to use DNA evidence from the knife sheath, cell phone data, allegedly tracking him, surveillance footage, the surviving roommate potentially positively identifying him. But if she testifies, I saw him there 10 minutes before this happened, is that the end of the case?
Well, I don't know that it's the end of the case. Again, based on how you would approach these witnesses and the other evidence in this case, but it certainly, bolsters everything else that you have in this case. So you have, as you said, these cell phone pings, surveillance, DNA. You have a witness, although he was wearing a mask, but now you have someone who refers to him by his first name. It was Bryan. I pulled up next to Bryan outside of this house. If that's her testimony and the jury believes it, yeah, that may be the end of the story.
By the way, I got to say, if this is true, does this just not more evidence? And if he did this, is this just not more evidence of a sloppy crime? You commit a crime with an eyewitness there. You commit a crime by leaving the knife sheath. You allegedly turn off the phone and turn it back on, so it's off during the key period of the killings. That data tracks the car to and from the location of this crime scene. I mean, for a criminology student, we've talked about this before. We've been covering this case since it broke down, since it happened on Sidebar. Actually, we were covering it since the killings, even before there was arrest of Bryan Kohberger. One of the big questions is, you study criminology, you're not a criminal mastermind.
Right. Everybody thinks, and especially someone in a situation like that they can pull off the perfect crime, that you're smarter than everybody else, that I got this figured out, and, I'm going to do this for whatever reason you decide that you want to do it. The thrill of it, the thrill of the chase. But yeah, there are no perfect crimes. Inevitably, especially in the age that we live in, with the technology, with surveillance, there are no perfect crimes. And good flat-foot police work is ultimately going to connect these dots and bring people to justice.
Matt, would it be surprising that we don't find out about this now, that we didn't find out about this until now? Again, prosecutors haven't confirmed it. Maybe because there's a gag order in this case. There's been accusations of problems with pretrial publicity, media leaks. Would it be, hey, of course, in a case like this is how we might be finding out about a witness. The prosecution wasn't going to reveal potentially one of their star witnesses in this way, or, well, let alone now, right before trial in August. Maybe they were trying to say, we're not going to let anybody know who our witnesses are. We were not going to let anybody know about our DoorDash driver before August.
Well, normally, Jesse, in my experience, at some point prior to this trial, which is scheduled in August, the parties are going to exchange witness lists, and they're going to exchange that information maybe through a court filing. And so you're able to determine, who potential witnesses are in this case. And that's what's shocking about this. If this was something that was known, soon after this investigation began, because we know there was a DoorDash delivery, why didn't they know about this person? Why didn't the public know about this other potential witness? Unless it was only revealed, during this traffic stop. And
Yeah.
that makes it unusual.
And by the way, just before I let you go, so now with jury selection looming, Kohberger's defense team, they are fighting to delay the trial. They're arguing that pretrial publicity has been prejudicial. There's this recent Dateline episode with unreleased details that it's tainted the jury pool. Prosecutors, though, they're insisting the trial should proceed. Both sides, by the way, they're set to hash all this out at a pretrial hearing later this afternoon. We're going to actually dedicate a full sidebar recap to that hearing later on today, so I hope everybody can check it out. But do you think this trial is going to get delayed?
Well, it doesn't appear to me that there would be a sufficient basis for a delay. Okay. I mean, the interesting thing about this, if you remember, Jesse, very early in this case, they wanted to take this case to trial. They wanted to enforce the speedy trial rule. And here they are now on the eve of trial, months and months and months later, and they're asking for a further delay. I don't think that the change of, I mean, there's already been a change of venue, so I don't think pretrial publicity is going to be an issue here. It doesn't matter if people heard about this case. Can they keep an open mind and make a decision? And they have, they have attorneys, they have mitigation specialists that can deal with the issues of the death penalty if you get to the penalty phase in this case. I don't see a strong argument for delaying this trial based on what I've read about what the defense is concerned about.
Well, we shall see. Again, we're going to do a full recap about the arguments. Maybe we even get a decision from the judge today. Matt Mangino, so great seeing you. Thank you for jumping on so quickly as we wanted to break this down as quickly as possible, this mysterious witness, whether or not she will testify at trial. Matt, good to see you.
Thank you, Jesse. Good to see you too.
And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.